Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a brand new review. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Substance. Yes, several minutes after the film has come out. It's actually just come out in America on home media. You can pick it up on Blu-ray 4K now. We haven't got that here in the UK. And I'm doing an incredibly belated review for this because it's, of course, up for 5 Oscars in the next couple of weeks. We've had the nomination a week ago. We're entering our Oscar season. We're now getting reviews out for the Best Picture nominees. I'll be talking about the other nominations this film has. And of course, like our other reviews, I'll be giving my thoughts on the film. And given this is now out, it's had its lifetime within the cinema, I'll actually talk about the box office and a couple of other things. So it's going to be really interesting discussing this. And I'm going to say this is the second time I've seen the film. I saw it back when it came out in October, and I've seen it again now. It's quite remarkable as an understatement to discuss this film. It's still a film I don't know how to talk about it to people that aren't aware of it. It's a really not tough sell, but I'm just trying to picture people watching it, getting to the ending, who are sort of maybe not the biggest film fans. It's an incredibly exciting one to talk about, if I'm completely honest. And I think I put this third for my films of 2024. So I have it in very high esteem before I even really get into this review. That being said, with it being Oscar season, we are 5 weeks away now, 4 weeks and a bit away. I don't know. It's absolutely flying. We're going to be doing reviews every Thursday, Sunday. I may switch a couple of that around. I'm finally seeing a couple of new releases this weekend. The Brutalist, fingers crossed, my cinema is still not showing it, and I need to see a complete unknown alongside a few other reviews. So there's going to be a lot of Oscar season happening here. There may be some discussion videos, there may be some prediction videos, but we will be covering it here on the channel. Of course, we'll be doing our live stream on the evening of the Oscars, as we always do. Live stream watch along, I should be saying. That being said, I do want to hear people's thoughts on this film, and I'm not going to make it a spoiler discussion, but I probably will talk some heavy spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, maybe this isn't the best time to be watching this. People at home are commenting. I'm more than happy to hear your thoughts on the film, your thoughts on the whole thing. It's really interesting to, as I said, to revisit this one a couple of months later with it settled in the memory, going back to it again. And I've always maintained a quote one of my friends taught me a very long time ago is, sometimes you don't see a film until you've seen it twice. I think I was told by one of my friends at college, we're going way back when, so I'm not taking any credit for that. And it's something I've thought about a lot, and I tend to think about it a little bit more at like Oscar season, where the films have a lot more depth without me sounding snobby about blockbuster season. I love blockbuster season. I don't necessarily need to see a lot of those films twice. But really, when you do see a film twice, it can change your perception. You can read into it more. Maybe you can loathe it. Maybe you loved it the first time round. And it's always interesting having those discussions with people within film forums and whatnot, who maybe loved a film and hated it, or hated it and loved it. And this is quite something on that second viewing. Once you know what's coming at the end, it really is quite something. So I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to talk about the Oscars first. I still don't know how to formulate these. And I'll be talking about the film, the usual things with the reviews, the performances and whatnot, but I do want to list the 5 nominations it has. It's been nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Makeup and Hairstyling. 5 nominations, which is terrific. I genuinely wasn't sure what this film would do with awards season. I didn't know it would have enough impact to make it from the long list onto the actual nominations list, and I'm delighted it has. And this is very much one of those films that I'll be sort of cheering on, as they say, throughout Oscar season, because there's obviously a lot of controversy around one of the 10 films nominated for 13 Oscars, actually. And I do think there are some really interesting films that aren't getting the limelight because a supposed terrible film is getting all the attention elsewhere. And I don't know if this film is easy to sell to people who maybe aren't as clued up. So I hope that makes some form of sense. But if I actually start getting into this properly, I've got to say, I've never seen a film by Qualley Fergo before. Apologies on the butchered French pronunciation. I know that she did her first film Revenge. I know she was attached to Black Widow for writing it, and she ended up not doing that and choosing to write The Substance, which turned into then this film, which is amazing. It's not me making digs at blockbusters or Hollywood. Sometimes directors want to make the best decisions for themselves, for their career, and this is absolutely one of those decisions. And it'd be interesting to see what her next film is. I do want to go and see Revenge at some point. This film's performed spectacularly. I remember seeing every week people discussing it. It kept having minimal drops at the box office. It grossed $85 million on a $17 million budget, which is great, especially in like a post-COVID thing where I think these kinds of films are even tougher to sell. People would talk about Demi more in it being the big comeback film. You've obviously got Dennis Quaid in this, Margaret Qualley. again, not Dennis Quaid a house name to an extent, but no big A-listers propelling this for you to come in immediately the star power that you may have on other films. It's not been done by a streaming service, it's on Mubi, and it's had that theatrical run, which is great as well. And I love seeing that. I love seeing films getting that recognition. Not that nonsense like the Golden Globes, but just studios having the faith and being able to put these films on the big screen for people to see at home. And it does make a difference. It really does make a difference. But let's talk this film. The story of Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore. I don't even know where to begin with this. I kind of want to get into the thematics. I never really talked them on these reviews. It's only an in-depth one. But Hollywood, as you may know, is not a very morally, I don't want to say morally apprehensive, but the representation of aging or female actors, actresses, directors, whatever you want to call it, the gender gap, whether it's age, whether it's pay, whether it's anything. Hollywood's pretty visible with all that sort of stuff. So to take the premise of a film where we have an aging Hollywood star with Demi Moore in the lead role, who is essentially being shunned out of her studio. She's too old on her 50th birthday. She's essentially been sacked. She's got a Hollywood Walk of Fame. And the film is about her not coming to coping with it, but with body horror being a common discussion point around this. I don't personally see it as a horror film, but others do, and that's fine. But that takes the substance, an injection liquid that will transform your life, will change your life, and you'll have a younger, better version of yourself. The dream, some would put it as. And it's a really interesting concept on film because I don't think Hollywood's really ever explored this in a not meaningful way, in a way that feels somewhat real and authentic. And I think where this film works from the get-go, and where the film has to work, that it absolutely wouldn't be, is if Demi Moore wasn't in the lead role, who is older than the age of 50, looks incredible for her age. She looks incredible for her age if she's meant to be 50. She just looks incredible, full stop. And the film plays up the angle of, yeah, she's old and she's not good looking. Now, there are people who can't read into things, and this isn't just me bashing people at home. I saw people saying the substance doesn't make sense because Demi Moore's good looking. That's the entire fucking point of the substance. It's the standards that this industry has put in place for aging actresses, for aging. You see these actors, and you'll have an actor in their 40s, male actor in a leading role in an action show or something, and there'll be a girl in like her mid-20s or something. But you're never going to get people. They're never going to look for an actress in her 40s to go along with that, to play that sort of lead romantic role. And it's been spoken about so much, but you haven't really visually seen it. So I think it's such a ballsy thing to do, is to actually cast someone older than the age of 50. And it's not me being ageist or anything, but Demi Moore, who's nearing 60, I think from what I'd read online a few months ago, I don't have got that wrong, so I apologize if I did, but she looks incredible for her age, as I've already said. And probably the best thing I've seen her in is this film performance-wise. Now, I haven't seen a lot of Demi Moore films. I'll be really honest. My introduction to her was Charlie's Angels as a boy, and I think I've seen her in a few other things, but I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a Demi Moore film until now. But seeing this, I guess you could call it the comeback narrative that people talk about for war seasons. I know that they'll speak about Brendan Fraser very well for that we've got this great actor who we've not seen for many years, and now they're front and centre in this great drama. But seeing the attention, seeing what's been spoken about with this, and pairing Demi Moore up with Margaret Qualley, who I think is an incredible young actress who I spoke really highly about Mikey Madison on our Anora review the other day, who was also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, who was also in the scenes with her. We have, I think, one of the best young actresses working today. And to really play up that Hollywood sex symbol that this film is doing, it's really interesting. And I think in parallel with the two leads who share one scene together, yet the entire film feels like they have chemistry. And it's strange to say that because obviously they're not on screen. How it's been directed, how the film's been edited, and what we get between them with the writing is really interesting. And I think few films have really done that, where you feel like it's I don't want to call it a double act as such, but to have, as I said, a chemistry for two people who don't appear on screen with one another, it's a really strange thing to say. And it's not something I've really thought about too much before. And now my head's spinning thinking, are there any other comparisons I can make? But they do make the film. The film cannot function and cannot work without these two. The performances are incredible. I'm delighted Demi Moore is up for leading actress at the Oscars. She obviously won the Golden Globe. Um, I'm gutted that Margaret Qualley is not nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I thought she was very deserving of a nomination. I haven't seen all 5 of the films yet, so I can't say at this point, do I think she was robbed, do I think she wasn't. I thought she was great in the film. And I guess I'll find out in the coming weeks what other performances may or may not sort of counteract that or not. But I was a bit gutted she wasn't nominated because, and I'll go so far to say, is of course Demi Moore is the lead. It never truly feels like the lead. And I know she is, but it feels like this character played by the pair of them. And granted, it's not, because Margaret Qualley is playing Sue, who is, the younger, as Palpatine say, the younger, better version, whatever you want to do the Palpatine memes with. And another weight of anchor of this, who is great in this film, is Dennis Quaid, who I haven't seen him much in the last few years. His son, though, love his son, great actor, having an incredible career. I don't want to get into politics. And Dennis Quaid is not someone who I've seen pop up in a lot of films. He just seems to be around for other reasons why. And him playing the loathsome studio producer, I think it's also great casting. And I know that Ray Liotta was cast at one point, and obviously he passed away, and we lost a legend there. I think he would have nailed that performance. But even the way this film is shot and framed, how disgusting he is. Like, one of my worst habits, like, just of life, is being around awful eaters, people that have no manners, the people that chew are just gross. It's the one thing that gets me going. Doesn't matter what it is, it's that one thing. Dennis Quaid eating in this, it's sort of up there, and people will talk about Lord of the Rings and the tomato scenes, which is very rightfully so. It's disgusting, and that just adds to this film that you feel so horrible and sorry for Elizabeth Sparkle financially losing a job because of her age. They're mocking her, they're berating her, and I've got to say, this it's not wrong with studio producers. They have a history of doing that. It's very well publicized. There's names we all know, some of which are in prison, who would act like that with actresses, and they're looking for the younger model to trade them in for, essentially. And once again, this film nails that. And I don't even call it satire. It knows exactly what the industry is like, and it really ramps that up. But getting into the substance side of things, the use of it as a plot device, whilst the film is commentating on themes, as I mentioned, commentating on Hollywood standards, there's such an engaging story throughout that you've had, the aging fitness model who's very traditional, such but very successful, being replaced by the younger one. The editing changes. We've got new modern songs. It's almost like softcore and porn type things where you'll see online where it's those like wild edits, wild close-ups that you see in films. It's not parodying it as such, but it's really ramping up. Like, this is what producers would think, and then the popularity rises with it, and you kind of think, yeah, like, that stuff does happen today. That would get popular there. You get these, I don't have TikTok or anything, but these influencers that pop up out of nowhere, and suddenly they're everywhere because of what they're doing or the stuff they do, and they're playing it up. The film really has an incredible message for Hollywood and I think society in this day and age, and I think it's so compelling in doing so. I feel like I've not really spoken about the film, but I also am at the same time. Like, there's so much to say with this, and I think it's going to be a film that's been spoke about for such a long time. But I think this is one of the, as I put last year, I put it third for my film of the year. I want this rightfully to be nominated for these. I mean, makeup and hairstyling, even just going to the final act, what that's going to be. But then you can talk about the prosthetic fingers. You can talk about so many other things that aging up of Demi Moore. I've never really gone into the makeup and hairstyling Oscar in much detail, but it's a really good year. Like, you've got films like Nosferatu who's going to be in there as well. Furiosa missed out on a nomination, which is crazy. It feels stacked, and I remember talking about the nominations that I was really surprised that I think they've extended to 5 this year rather than the traditional 3, which is great. But this film could, personally, I think, could come away with an award or two. Now, I guess the conversation is going to be who's going to win Best Lead Actress. Is it Mikey Madison? Is it Demi Moore? That's how I've sort of narrowed down the two performances. I'm fine if Demi Moore wins Best Actress. I think she's deserving. And I always say this, I don't mind the comeback narrative of Hollywood. If there is an as good performance, then absolutely, the Oscar should be given to the best performance. And the whole career Oscar narrative is frustrating at times, as you see within the industry, but when there is that comeback, when you've got a star who's been absent and they come back and do a film such as this, you're kind of happy for it, aren't you? On the presumption it is as good a performance as the others that are nominated. So it's a really tricky one to talk about at times, but as you can tell, I've had a really fun time watching this film. I won't go into too much more details, but I do want to talk about the concept of addiction that this film really tackles in a unique way by creating a fictional improvement like the substance, rather than having anything we've seen before, like, could I get an actor could someone get addicted to Botox, to this, to that, to try and make themselves better and turn up into like a plasticky type face thing. No, but it went such better in a new version of your life will literally come out of your body. I've never seen that before, and as a concept, hiding their bodies for the week at the time, and playing up the, you look at the concept of addiction, that she still wants to have the younger successful version of herself. Then the younger successful version of herself, she's addicted to the fame, to the power, and what she's been able to do. She doesn't want to go back to that disgusting other person. It's a really interesting conversation to have, and I don't think films explore addiction in a way such as this. And I think by having a fictional device to do so, it really opens the door. And that's kind of that. I don't have too much more to say. I'm not going to talk about specific scenes, as I said. It has a remarkable ending. I love the opening montage, and I love where the film ends up. Really hit you on that second viewing. Is that right? Let's talk. Let's see where we start. Let's go back to where it ended. It's been edited in such a unique way. I'm surprised it actually wasn't nominated for editing. I think it's been a really good year for editing. I think it's an Oscar not too many people speak about, but I'm just going to keep absolutely praising this film. It is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend you make the effort to see it. I don't think cinemas are going to be showing it again here in the UK. I think it's streaming on Mubi now. It needs to review for Saturday night. I just realised that. That's now streaming on US Netflix. And that's out here in the UK tomorrow, which is kind of hilarious but terrible at the same time. So that's going to do it for this review of The Substance. My final thoughts on this film: I think this film is incredible. I'll be seated for Qualley's next film. I'll be, as I said, happy for this award season to continue riding the wave. It's a really interesting award season. It doesn't feel like there's any particular favourite. I know one film's got 30 nominations, as I said, but it still doesn't feel like anything's locked in, anything's been won. And I'm going to be really intrigued to see what else comes from it. So that's going to do it for this review. Now, if you want to know what's coming next, I mentioned Saturday night. I probably should do a Saturday night review. I've seen it now. I enjoyed the film. It's UK release. It's been shafted. We've got A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, Nickel Boys, a few other films to watch and review. So there'll be new reviews coming out, as I mentioned, as we build up to Oscar season throughout February. There may be some special discussions and special prediction videos. But if you're a fan of Oscar season, I do recommend subscribing. If you want to find out what we're working on, what else we're doing, you can get us on our social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky. Linktree.com/cinemasavvy will put you through to all of those. But until then, that's everything I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.